like I mentioned, I grew up very Christian, and I wasn't able to go and party and drink and stuff like that. But what I ended up doing is that I ended up listening to EDM, right? What we call, I guess, the golden era EDM. And I'm like, oh shit, who's this? And one of my first songs that I really, really loved was Take Over Control. Everyone knows that song, right? It's by Afrojack. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I want to go like experience this in the club. Realistically, this DJ doesn't come to LA as much. You know, I don't know what EDC is. My parents told me I might get stabbed with some drugs in my hand in the crowd. So I'm like, you know, I'm good. So I ended up buying a ticket to, it was like EDC week at the Encore. And it changed my life, to be honest with you. So it was cool. I love the experience. I got to see how people were managing him in the background, making sure that he was reading the crowd. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to do this one day. So ended up just really networking, really started going to these shows. I would literally fly in and fly out because at that time I had a one-year-old son. He's 12 years, turning 13 now, actually, next month. So just to give you an idea of how long I've been doing this. And just literally would fly in from Burbank to Vegas at 11 o'clock at night, go to the club by 12. The club would end at 3, get to the plane by 5, to be back by 7, to go to work at 8. Like that was the dedication, and I ain't judging, but no drugs, nothing like that. You know, that's just me. I don't even drink coffee, so fun fact, I've never really liked coffee. But you know, I saw the investment on like, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to understand. I was a DJ before too. Was more of like the MySpace DJ, I guess you could say, right? So you got the TikTok DJs, you got all that. I literally would be in my room just playing music Fridays and Saturdays on my MySpace, and people would go on my page and listen to that. But I'm like, you know, I don't want to be into that anymore. I wanted to be more on the back end side. So over the years, you know, I became from an Afrojack fan to being a friend. And by being able to do that, you know, that was the golden era age where he was one of the biggest ones at that time, right? Alongside Calvin Harris, and we talk about Steve Aoki, Tiesto, and all those guys as well. But it enabled me to gain his trust and see that I wasn't there for like just the drinking or just trying to kick it or like, you know, get selfies and shit. It was more about like, hey, like I generally want to learn and understand this side of the business because I want to do this one day. So that's where that relationship came. And throughout the years, I've been blessed to you know, be backstage and people like going, oh my God, backstage. But it's really, for me, it was more of like understanding the business and like, hey, this is cool. There's so much logistics behind it that, you know, you guys as DJs and artists don't get to see every day because you have people like the famous guys working on that stuff for you. So you focus on what? Making sure that you bring the experience to your customers, your guests, your clients each and every day. So, I mean, you name it. Ultra every year I get to go to, EDC, Mexico this year. Anything you could think of, I've been there. And it just, I took the time to network because I could have enjoyed the time to be like, oh shit, free bottle service. Like, cool, like I'm not gonna spend 10 grand on this bottle service. I can't afford $1,000 even VIP ticket to EDC realistically. But I use that time to get uncomfortable. You know, go and knock on these trailers back there. Be like, hey, by the way, you know, I'm Sergio, nice to meet you. Can I follow you on Instagram? Can I follow you on Twitter at the time, right? Can I follow your Vine? You know, all that good stuff. And that really enabled me to get out of my comfort zone and talk to people that I would have never been able to talk to. Over the years, you know, if you ever checked out my Instagram, like I have really good relationships with almost anybody that you could think of these days. I'm not going to sit there and name everybody, but it's not about, you know, one of the best advice I could give you always is that always make it personable before you make it business. That's what has enabled me over the years. You know, same thing I did with, you know, Don Dirty when he was playing more of the Latin side at the time. Same thing with Francisco when they were doing the Space Monkey stuff. It wasn't like, hey, what's up, guys? You know, I want to throw out an event. It was like, no, hey, like I see you know, you have this person playing. I want to come out and celebrate my birthday locally. Can I do that? And like, sure, let's come out. And it was all about hospitality, right? And it's not even about the alcohol, the drinks, anything like that. It was literally just like, hey, I want to be able to sit here and enjoy my time while still get to know you between DJ sets, between setup, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I want to throw it back to you guys. Is there any questions that you guys want to ask? You know, please, anybody speak out. Don't be too quiet. Go.
Yeah, my name's Darcy, by the way, and my question
as a manager or okay, as a manager. Um, One thing I would do differently. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sorry. So the question was, is if I was to restart again, what would I do differently this day and age to be more successful? Essentially, right? Was the question. Realistically, for me, it was being open-minded. So for me, if you ask me, hey, Sergio, what's your favorite type of EDM? Like, with all due respect, Don, I love you. Where's he at? I, I hate dubstep and all that shit that you play, but I love you, bro. But I love you. Okay, but I love you. All right, I said it. I said it. All right, but realistically, right? That's something that I've learned this year to answer your question is to be open-minded, right? Because it's not what I like; it's about what is that your customers want, your your fan base, and can you? I tell all my team this is that you got to be adaptable, right? Because if I'm telling my team, you got to be adaptable, you got to be up with the trends because we live in an era where everything's digital, right? I wasn't that person. So I was like, hey, I love my golden era EDM, besides my Latin music that I like, my reggaeton, my Latin edits and stuff like that. A year ago, you wouldn't see me at a Don Dirty show these days, right? With the new style that he does and techno and all that. But but now it's like, hey, like you would never see me in an afters, like you would never see me in a warehouse, you would never see me at collectives and stuff like that. But that's where I had the opportunity to meet people like Cast or like Cherry. Cherry was behind me somewhere. There she is. So got to meet Cherry in that aspect, and a lot of you guys I've met in places like that, right? It goes all about that, but yeah, it's just being adaptable and just being open-minded, and most definitely not judging a book by its cover. That's a big one. So yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Who's your favorite DJ and why is it Don Dirty? I got a quick question. Okay, so first.
Oh, let me take the shot real quick. I need that one.
Okay, so as an artist manager, I'm sure you're constantly looking for new talent, right? I'm sure you're on socials and stuff. What are the things that when you come across a profile that you see or you think like, okay, this person's got something to it, or like what are those factors that you're looking at that kind of makes somebody stand out, that separates them, saying like, hey, this person's got a bigger chance, or like, hey, I think I can work with this person?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So just to summarize what he's asking is basically, as a manager, what do I look for? What does my team look for in order to see if they're the next person that we want to invest in? So actually, I am gonna bring Wendy up here as well. So Wendy, can you come over here real quick? All right. So Wendy is my right hand girl into the company as well. So she helps me out. She's also one of my scouting agents. That realistically, there's so much on my plate. So I do that stuff too. But she's the one that really invests in the time more than anything. So I'll answer it my way, and then I'll have her answer what she looks for. So one of the biggest things that I always talk about is being adaptable. Once again, so that's the number one thing. Are you adaptable on being able to either do an open format set? Tomorrow, can you do like a dubstep, a techno set, and then tomorrow, and then the next day, can you do something like, excuse me, something that's like country? Like it goes back to like I'm sure that's what Famous Agency does as well, right? Because you guys do a lot of corporate events and stuff like that. That's the number one thing. Number two, social media presence, right? It's so big these days because of the fact that when you have booking agents, right, you want to go to the Insomniac shows, you want to be able to play at Ultra, you want Famous Agency to book you at, Citadel outlets, like that's a big corporate account, right? You got to be able to show the value on like, hey, if, as an example, Don Dirty is playing today at Citadel outlets, I want to go see him while I'm going to go get me some stuff at the Disney outlet, you know what I mean? So you got to bring in that value naturally with social media. Number three is what makes you different, right? So we have a group of let's say 50 people here today. People watching online as well. Like, what makes you different? What makes you stand out? What makes Don Dirty? What makes DJ Omai's in the crowd? So what makes him different? He's in Lancaster, right in the middle of freaking nowhere. But what makes him different that people will book him here in San Diego, Vegas, and stuff like that is what style do you bring differently? Whether it's the clothing that you wear, the type of style that you bring, that one swag thing that you do is very important. And realistically, it's persistence. To be honest with you, Not to sound cocky whatsoever, but like there's so many DMs that I want to open up, but I can't because then if I open up that DM, I'll go into a rabbit hole because I'll have this person sending me their music and stuff like that, and there's a process, right? So we tell them, hey, like there's a Google form here, fill it out, we'll get to you because then I'll go to Wendy. Then I for sure know that Wendy's gonna be able to look at it, and we go from there. But persistence definitely pays, right? You guys came here obviously because you saw a value coming to hang out with Famous Agency, with myself, and just networking with your peers and people that you may or may have not met before. That we all look into that stuff. I could confidently say Famous looks at those things. We talk about the bigger people like UTA and other agencies in the area. They look at that stuff like how many times do we see your face, your face, your face here? And that doesn't mean that you have to go to every collective, night. It's just about like, hey, like, I see this girl, she's talking to this person. I see this guy, he's talking to everybody. Respect the security guard at the door like you respect your mom or dad. That goes a long way. But that's what I look at, to be honest with you. Like I said, I keep it simple. But Wendy, do you mind sharing what you look for into that? Come on, Wendy.
You gotta bring it all the way down.
You know what?
In this case. I guess. Okay, hold on. Hi, guys. I caught it. Sorry. Hold on. There we go. Sorry, we had a little mic on. To add on to what Sergio was saying, yes. So as a music fan originally and then coming on with Sergio and helping out with whether it's booking shows, recruiting, and seeing what's out there and answering the DMs, I will say adaptability is one of the big things that we look at. Are you also approachable, your image? What's your music like? Does it sound like everybody else? Again, what makes you stand out, right? Also, I think one of the things that I look at when he asks me, hey, what do you think about this person is this person jumping on everybody's bandwagon? Are you at every collective? Are you at every show, every single thing? Like you said, you don't have to be at everybody's thing because I feel like, yes, you want the exposure out there and you want to put yourself out there for everything, but your time is also valuable and you want to make the right connections, right? Because you want to go and climb up that ladder. So yeah, you don't want to be like, I'm going to overwhelm myself and be at every single thing. It's picking and choosing who values your time, who comes to see you and things like that. And just an overview of everything. I want to say also, being a music fan, I love listening to everybody's music. I really do. And I think that's one of the things that stands out. Everybody that we have with our label, with Big Thangs Management, everybody brings something different. We have, our house, melodic house. We have our house. We have our Latin house. We have, there's all these house tech, everything, reggaeton, all that stuff, reggaeton and hip hop and whatever you guys know. So, it's fun to listen to a little bit of everything to see, okay, if we bring on this person, if we invite this person as a guest to, a booking, a club or something, seeing like, how does the crowd vibe with them and things like that. And just, seeing how things just unfold for you guys. It's pretty cool to see, even if you're not with Big Thangs and we've had special guests that we bring out to the clubs. Hey, the club owners love you guys and they always ask us to bring you guys back. So, with that being said, I mean, it's pretty much just backing up what Sergio said. I know. So if you ever do DM us and send your stuff, just know that it's probably on my gym list. So I am listening to it and it's cool. So send them all. I love it.
Does anybody have any other questions for Wendy since she's up here? All right, here we go.
You know what? AI music, and it's funny because we were just having a conversation about AI vocals, right? And I'm still learning myself. I get lucky enough to go to these bookings and learn from the audio and visual guys. And there's one specific guy who I love having conversations because he's been in the industry for like 40 plus years. And he tells me, tell the DJs not to use, if it's AI, don't mess with the Serato on things. Don't do this. Don't turn too much because this sounds nasty and stuff like that. I'll be honest. I prefer natural, raw vocals versus AI just because I feel like sometimes it does throw off your sound. If you're at the club, you can't hear it. If you have your headphones on or, the speaker connection that you're listening to, you don't hear what the speakers hear. You don't hear what everybody else hears. I personally, it's not my fave. I mean, sometimes you have to do what you got to do, right? But I prefer if you can have a friend or somebody and bring them in and have them sit here and call you daddy because you're going to add it to your song, do it. Do it. Because that's the stuff that, and nowadays, it's funny because all the songs you hear out there is like a random word, whether it's like catch me outside, daddy, it's summer, and then you're like, you know, like all that stuff. So that's my point of view. I don't know, Sergio.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. So for me, so look, do I believe in tools and resources? Absolutely, right? Anything that makes our life easier is going to help out. But as a producer, you know, as someone that's creating music, you ask that question as like, is it important? I think personally that it could, you know, coincides with what Wendy's talked about, is having like that real world human connection. I mean, perfect example, right? After tonight's event, me and one of my other artists, we're gonna go to Pirate and we're gonna have a bunch of different girls record different vocals, girls that you would never think like, hey, they have the voice, but can we enhance a little bit with AI? Sure, you know, can we do a little reverb on it? We could do that, right? And you could speak to that because at the end of the day, you're helping out your community, right, to be able to grow with you as well. I mean, we recorded Cherry's voice, what, like 3 weeks ago? And she hates being on the mic. You know, just sorry, Cherry, pointing you out, but she hates that. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's what's gonna make you original, right? Because at the end of the day, as you will see, answering your question, right, with Spotify, with Audius, and all these other companies that they're cracking down on that stuff and not giving you, what's it called, recurring revenue? You're only putting yourself, shooting yourself in the foot for the future, because as you get used to doing that AI type of music, and then once they're not paying you for it, once you just get bigger and bigger, then you're gonna be like, now what? When you have your counterpart that's still using, you know, the girl or the guy down the street that they grew up with, and they just made their voice sound better without auto-tune or anything like that. So that's my thought on AI. So, yep. Anybody else? Oh, you got this white light. Yes, sir.
What's your best advice that you could give to a brand new independent artist that would like to work with like your agency or any other type of agency?
Cool. Yeah, cool. Great question. So his question is that for a brand new independent artist, what can you do to basically set yourself up for success with either my agency or anybody else's? And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just literally, you know, making sure that you're different, right? So study your peers, because you know, you might be the one person doing Latin EDM. Well, which is an example, right? So when we think about Latin EDM, who do we think of? Dioro, right? Dioro's the big one right now. But is it just Dioro in the game? No, right? We have Ocho, Chan, Rayburger. I mean, Don produces music like that too, whenever he wants to. You know, so so things like that, right? We got my guy Amfresh. You know, he does that as well. We have some other people that do it as well on our team. But realistically, right? Study essentially your competitors, right? And like, what can you do different to stand out? That's number one. Number two, harass everybody that it could be an agency, stuff like that, and show up, right? So it goes back to the main thing of like when I first started, I became a fan of Afrojack. I kept showing up to his shows. He probably like, who's this big ass fucking Latin guy in the front of my sets? But then I finally got his attention, right? And then that's where he introduced me to, you know, Layback Luke and all these other guys that I have really great relationships with. So definitely making sure that you're consistent on that. And social media. So, I mean, something that I was told recently by, if you guys listen to the Latin side, so we all know there's two big companies out there. There's Reggaetolandia, and then there's Gasolina/Reggaeton Rave. So two different competitors, right? Reggaetolandia has had a really big year. And realistically, you know, Too Deep, which is the main guy that runs it, we literally had a conversation about 3 weeks ago. He's like, hey, you know, I asked them, like, they were booking these random guys that I've never heard of. They're realistically TikTok and YouTube DJs, and that's great and all, but they suck. I'll be transparent with you because they wouldn't fit my portfolio. But it goes back to number one, being open book, right? So me changing that aspect that she was asking about earlier. But number two is like, hey, like, they're bringing what the people want, which is social media. It's content, right? So we see people that would never do this before. So we've seen like you know, Dioro was doing a 30-minute mix behind, like in a convertible or something like that recently. So things like that, he would never do that. But he understands that he has to adapt to that. So are you adapting to what the people want on TikTok and, you know, Instagram and all that stuff? That's the big one. And then last but not least, you know, when it comes to producing, if you're going to be a producer, make it original, make it you. What's going to be that one song or that one sound that everybody knows is you? Like perfect example, like you know when it's an Afrojack song or a Quintino song or a Dioro song or Mustard on the Beat, you know, like anything like that, like make it your own. So then when someone hears that, like, oh shit, this is this guy's music. So like I know this song's about to hit. So that's what I personally recommend. Yep. Anybody else besides Don Dirty? All right, Don.
So when it comes to getting booked, I feel like there's a lot of pushback on DJs sometimes from the DJ when they say like, well, if they ask them, well, how many people can you bring, or you know, what's your audience like? What can we expect for you to get the club? And they say, well, I'm not a promoter. That's not my job. What do you have to say to a DJ that says that to you?
It depends on the genre, to be transparent with you, because it goes back to adapting to what the world is today. So on my Latin side specifically, right? So there was someone that's really well respected. He's an owner of a big club in Santa Ana. You guys can figure that out if you haven't by now. He mentioned about 2 months ago, and it pissed off a lot of people, where he said, hey, I don't book DJs specifically if they're sitting there doing flyers or promoting themselves. Like, they shouldn't have to do that, right? On the Latin side, I disagree, specifically in Southern California. Why is that? Because there's so much competition, right? At the end of the day, it goes back to my fundamentals, right? Anybody could press play, right? So for Big Thangs, we say we don't just press play, we create experiences, because at the end of the day, I know for a fact that my people, they're gonna be different, right? You have all these clubs that, you know, they're out here, right? Between Ventura County, where I live, all the way down to San Diego. At least what, 30, 40, 50, you would say, like clubs overall. And a lot of these clubs, like, they only hire their friends, their little circle, right? So even this year, it's been a challenge for me to be able to get my guys to play there. So specifically, you got to be confident in there and tell them like, hey, we're gonna do something different. You know, whether it's doing that extra promotion. Like realistically, me as a CEO of a company, I shouldn't have to put up my DJ's flyers. I shouldn't have to do my own type of promo. But I do it because that's what makes me different, and that's what will make us stand out for my artists or people that I bring as special guests. Like I've had DJ Omai, he's not on my team, but I put him as a special guest at the Reserve, right? Because the Reserve, if we had this conversation 4 months ago, they didn't want to even talk to me. They're like, who the fuck are you? Which is understandable because they're used to booking their own people, or they'll book the bigger agencies like scam artists and stuff like that. But I told him, hey, give me a shot. Let me show you how we could be different, and we could do that, right? Now, on the opposite side, right? So if we talk about like the house side, EDM, all that good stuff, people are so used to that where they expect that from you, right? And that's something that we do need to change because of the fact, right, how many times, and I'm sure it's happened to you, Don, as an example, like, Don is really well respected, but I'm sure even at his thing, is like, hey, can you sell me 100 tickets and then that's how, you'll get paid? No, guys, you guys can't devalue yourselves because you may not get that temporary booking, but you got to be able to understand your value on that side of the business, right? One day the Latin side will get there, right? It takes people to disrupt the industry, and that's what I'm doing right now, specifically me and my team, me and my MC. I got my MC here too. Shout out to Gio. So Gio's here too. We all disrupt the industry purposely, little by little. But on the EDM side, it's just these promoters, they don't want to put in their own money. They don't want to give out the value. So when people, it's different when it's like an agency. So like when Famous does your guys' thing, what is it? You guys do like Newport Beach and stuff like that? Sharky and stuff like that. That's worth it, right? Because you guys are doing it for an agency. You guys want to be able to get those gigs. But when you're doing it for collective A, B, and C, and they're getting all the profits and you're just getting exposure, and you're doing this every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Friday, it's not going to get you anywhere, guys. So you got to make sure that at the end of the day, whatever side it is, you understand your value, and you got to think of the headliner mentality. Stop thinking about you're just the one person that's just starting off. or you're going to be support or direct support. No, you're going to be the headliner. You got to be having that headliner mentality. That's it for me. So anybody else? Any other questions? No? All right. Well, I'll be here. Oh, we got another question? Sorry, this white light. It's my face. Yeah, let's. Sorry, because I hear these guys in the background. Can we get it? What do you guys say?
So obviously every DJ here has a rate. You have your rate for your DJs, but what is your thought or aspect on right now with the industry and obviously the COVID DJs that just came out and finally stepped out onto the field, the undercutting? So like, you know, some people are worth 200, but then somebody says I'll do it for free or for 50 bucks or whatever. What's your thought on that? Because it makes it a lot hard for the people who've been doing it for a really long time.
Cool. So great question. And Cherry, I'm gonna put you on a spot in a second. So, because she's my newest artist, so that's why. So, if you guys have looked at my roster, I deal with a lot of, I guess you could say people have been in the game for a very long time. So we got like DJ Santa Rosa, Irony, we got Ecto One, Also Mighty. All these guys were DJing at the times where they would pay them $1,500 for 2 hours. Like it was crazy. Like shit, I would want to make that money. But realistically, right, it goes back to the fluctuation of the industry, which is unfortunate. So as much as these certain guys that are on my team, they're used to making that money, they stopped getting booked. But once I went to them and we started working on action plans that we do together, I'm like, hey, look, like I understand that you're worth $1,500 for 2 hours and even more, right? But can that venue even be profitable paying you that? Like, are you really genuinely bringing those individuals? Like, are people really going out there and partying and doing bottle service? Like, let's be real, right? So, like, I'm 36, I'm millennial, right? We got the Gen Zs and all that stuff. Like, there's Gen Zs in here. What's the new ones? There's other new ones, alphas, like all that stuff, right? A lot of them don't drink, right? So they don't care about bottle service and stuff like that. Realistically, like, yes, I love me a good drink, but I mean, me personally, I will pay for like, a spot just to chill and enjoy the DJ for the night because I don't want to be crammed up in the crowd. That's me, right? A lot of these newer generations are the same way. That's why the whole coffee things were really big this summer and all that stuff with like the coffee day parties and things like that. There's another thing that was really big that I wanted to push too, which was like the day party before 10 p.m. It's kind of like what we did, like House y Calor when we did that thing in June, where it's like, hey, like people want to go and party, but they want to be home by 8 o'clock, So I get it, but it just goes back to adaptability. Now, it's okay to lower your rate temporarily to show the value, especially if it's someone new. We have someone in the building today. I'm not going to say who it is, but like realistically, they asked for one of our DJs to lower the booking rating, and normally I would say no, right? Because the person next door at the other venue is paying them double. But it's like, do you see that long-term investment? Because yes, you could get your $1,500 for those 2 hours and just get booked one time. But if you want a residency, you want to be able to say, like these promoters, like they're really connected. Like, let's be real. Like, so if they say, hey, like this is Joseph right here, and then Joseph talks to Ali across the street, hey, I booked him at this rate, yeah, but he did really well, cool. Now they're going to introduce you to that venue or place that you were never going to get into before because they only book scam artists, as an example. So it goes back to like, hey, it's not devaluing yourself, it's just temporarily showing them what you could bring in that new generation, and that's what it is. Cherry, I'm going to ask you, so if you don't mind coming up over here real quick. So, Cherry is literally in that same situation, right? Because, she's really big. She came from the house world and all that good stuff, but she changed her genre to be on the Latin side. She's used to getting paid way more on the house side because she's built her credibility, but she's had some cutbacks, right? So, but what's your thought on it as an artist? Because it's your money, it's not my money. So what do you have to say about that?
I definitely do cut back to show them what I can do. And then sometimes if they don't want to pay that price, then I won't do it. You can have someone else for free, but let's see if they can handle, it's not just music. Can they handle a crowd? Do they smile? Do they move? Do they dance? Do they create an experience, just like Big Things? Or are you just looking down at the decks the entire time? Like, I want to go out and have fun, and the DJ is the hype person. So I feel like, let's say they say no and they go to the free person, they will see, oh, okay, that's why that person is free, and that's why this person is this much. And they come back, okay? They do come back. And again, like Surgz said, like sometimes, like if you're new, like me, you gotta, go down a little just so they can see, and then you say, okay, if you want me back, this is what it is. And most times it's been successful. So you, just like they said, you have to separate yourself from just a push and play DJ or an entertainer, because you are a performer. It's just our job.
Thank you. All right, thank you for that. Anybody else? Any other questions? Cool. Well, silence is golden. So once again, thank you guys for giving me and my team the time and effort. And it's really rare to have me in a building without crazy bass music around me. So take advantage if you go and talk to me or any of my team. We'll be here, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for inviting me, guys. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Surgz. Big shout out to Big Thangs Management. Thank you guys so much. All right, guys, so remember, this is a networking meeting, and we do have our DJ contest coming up. We have Cherry B up first. Make some noise. So just a quick shout out. We're going to do some shout out to Famous DJ Academy as a giveaway, or?
Yeah, free workshop for whoever's here.
Oh, okay. So we're doing a free workshop for Famous DJ Academy in January. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. And Empress LA is another one of our sponsors, and they are giving free laser facial to whoever is here. So make sure you RSVP on the Eventbrite, and you can claim those prizes. So please make sure you guys network, get everybody's contact in here. I say, talk to everybody. I just wanted to go through the way that we're going to be judging this contest. Just basically what we feel is most important in the DJ ability. We have basically 4 categories. The first is technicality. Technicality is, their beat matching, phrasing, their EQing, how their mix sounds, basically, if it sounds clean. And then another category is creativity, which is, how creative their mix is, the scratching, combining songs, how they use the effects. And then another category is vibes, which is their song selection, how they control the crowd, how they flow through the music. And then the last final category that's kind of just a little extra bonus points is their artistry, meaning like their profiles, their social profiles, if they've produced music, if they've released mixes. So we feel all of those things are very important for a DJ to be a great DJ. So that's how we're going to be judging this contest. First up, we have Cherry B. I think next up is... shout out to the judges that's going to be judging this. Is going to be Josh Way. Big shout out Josh Way. Shout out to DJ A1. A1 runs the hottest club in Fullerton, so make sure you talk to A1. And then myself, I'm going to be substituting because we had somebody drop out, so I'm going to be a judge as well. Cherry B is going to kick it off, and then we're going to have, I think, Moro, right, after? I forgot who's after, but Cherry B, guys, make some noise. Ooh, ooh!